All right, chain prompting. Chain prompting is your ability of using it to develop quick ideas for every AI. So it's focused on an iterative revision as it does it. Because what you're doing with chain prompting is you're putting a broad prompt out there, like we did with my wife who's wanting a gift, and then you're going to refine it. What I find is you really want to refine it the second time and then iterate off of that two more times. And then if those iterations don't work, you go back and refine it again. The reason you go in this looping structure is because what happens is as you do it and you're iterating off of what it says. So iteration means to take what it says and basically change it just a little. Where refining it is changing the whole statement to be more clarified or clarity of what you're trying to do. So when you're starting to do it, you have to look at both ways of doing as any model. So we were talking about giving my wife a gift. The recommendations and thoughts were really good in helping me to brainstorm, but it wasn't great as it's doing it. If you think about when you're going to a meeting about a new software package, if you're presenting something that's a new software package that's just broad, people are going to go, yeah, but how's it solve my specific problem? And then they're going to ask questions as it goes to revise it. That's where this broad statement comes from and what it's trying to do as it does it. You have to realize iteration is that brain power and that creative connection that's vital for our experience. Why am I only recommending it doing it twice? Is because the models really need time to process it. And when you're iterating, you're doing things off of the model's own language to try to develop it. Think of your mother when they're baking cookies. When she's baking cookies, you may be able to give her one additional suggestion for an ingredient. You can't have her redo the whole recipe. That's a refinement of the whole process. And she's not going to do that. She's going to get upset with you. Instead, if you give her little iterations, it's going to work better and the model's going to work better. So models really much is like your mom baking cookies as you think about it. What are those suggestions you can make that are better, but in a step-by-step method as you do it? An example that I can think about is, can you give me an example of how to put together a studio? So you're thinking of a studio and how to put it together. It came back and one refinement would be the studios in my house for video recordings of TikTok videos. So now you refined it from just a studio to me, a studio in a house that does video recordings. Okay, now it's better. Now, off of that, I would iterate it and say, okay, now I want to have better audio parts of those TikTok recordings because you're changing off of the TikTok area. And then you're going to say, but where in the house would I play it? All iterating off the refinement as you're doing it. When you need to refine because it's not getting the right solution because you're driving it to a solution that's going to help you, you would have to go back to your refinement statement and change it. That's where really chain prompting is powerful, is if you follow this methodology of doing it. Broad, refine, iterate, and iterate. When people sit down and keep iterating forever, which I've seen 30 or 40 iterations, they're not getting the results they want and they're frustrated and they're saying this model doesn't work. It's because they're not refining the question based on what the model is saying. You have to do that as you go ahead. So let's change to a real life example and let's go make a new model and say, okay, I need help with, please help me writing an email to my boss asking if I can take a vacation in 2 weeks. So I'm putting a broad statement out there asking them to write an email to my boss to do it. And now what it came back with was, hope the email finds you well. I'm writing the request vacation from a start to an end date, and I've ensured my current projects are on track, which is great, but it doesn't know anything about my field, what I do. Now I'm going to go back and say, I'm in the restaurant business. and I manage the books for 2 restaurants. Could refine this. So now I'm refining it to do it. Now I told them that I'm in the restaurant business and I'm basically saying I want to do it as a bookkeeper. I've ensured the records are financially and up to date as necessary to complete before I leave. So now you're getting it better. But now you notice it says that. But now if I'm refining it again, I may want to iterate and say, is that good? Yes. But what it doesn't say is that between pay periods. This is between pay periods. So no employee will be impacted. Can you include this? Now, by doing that, I'm iterating on top of it. And it's going to add that I've done that and put it in. And says, since my request of vacation period falls between pay periods, no employees will be impacted and payroll operations will continue smoothly. So that's the iterative process that you're going to get with chain prompting. Chain prompting does a really good job of taking it and then iterating it as you go. I'm very happy with this email that I developed, and now I'm going to use it as my basis to change a couple words. But as I change those words, it's going to be better and more effective as I do it. Every time you take a chain prompting method, you have to know you're going to iterate it and change it. Sometimes you get the right answer right up front, but sometimes you have to give it more information to really achieve what you're looking for. So whenever you're doing that, you have to think about it. The benefits of this method, it's always quick feedback and the really negative is it takes time to find a solution because you're iterating a couple times. But the quick feedback is what we're looking for. So that's where this is really a great method. You don't have to develop a whole bunch of information as it does it. So I'm going to ask you to write a story of a man walking in a cold night using a chain prompting. I'll put the activity next. But you're on your way to do prompting. This is Dave. See you soon.